My dear people of God, we are on the 6th Ordinary Sunday. The first reading and the Gospel passage speak about blessings and curses, whereas the second reading speaks about the resurrection of the dead. Let's first focus our attention on the second reading, and then we shall come to the first reading and the Gospel passage. We know that St. Paul experienced or encountered the resurrected Christ on his way to Damascus. From being a persecutor, he was transformed into a great preacher to the ends of the world. That encounter with the risen Lord was a turning point in his life. In his ministry, he preached about Jesus' resurrection and that there is resurrection of the dead. But then there were some people who came and confused the other people who were giving a false teaching, saying that there was no resurrection of the dead. You may remember that Jesus, during his lifetime, while confronting the Sadducees on the topic of resurrection, affirmed that there is resurrection of the dead. Jesus himself rose from the dead and showed to every one of us that whole humanity, all mankind has a share in this resurrected life. We have a share in the same destiny, that of Jesus Christ after our death. That's what St. Paul is trying to establish in the second reading. He says emphatically that Jesus has risen from the dead and has opened the gates of a new resurrected life after our death for all the believers. Let's now come to the first reading. The first reading says, "Blessed are those who put their trust in the Lord. They are like a tree that is planted near a stream of waters. The tree always gives leaves. It's always green, flourishing. Even when it is summer season or when it is dry season, it always bears fruit." Why? Because it is close to the stream of water. That stream of water is God. Then the reading says, "Cursed are the ones who trust in themselves, who turn away from God. They are like a shrub from a desert where there is very little water, and soon when the land gets parched, when it is a dry season, they too dry up. They do not flourish always, they die." Remember the fight of David and Goliath. David, a shepherd boy, unskilled, whereas Goliath, a giant and a warrior, well versed at fighting with javelin and the shield. David came to fight by trusting in the Lord, whereas the giant came to fight trusting in his own skills, in his own strength. What was the result? David, as shepherd boy, struck the mighty Goliath down and cut him off. David flourished. All those who put their trust in the Lord flourish, being pleasing in the eyes of God. Let's now come to the Gospel passage. We find 4 blessings and 4 woes. In other words, 4 curses. Jesus promises a blessing at the end times to those who remain responsive to God, who trust in God, who depend on God. On earth, those who are poor, weeping, uncomforted, and made to suffer for His sake will surely receive a blessing, will surely be comforted by being accepted by God and welcomed as His children. Whereas those rich who trust in themselves, who trust in their wealth, in their own security, who turn away from God, who seem to be enjoying all comforts of life, those whose laughter is scornful, boastful, self-centered, and rejoicing at the harm others experience, will have to weep at the end times. They will not receive the blessing of God, of being in His presence forever. Mind you, people of God, is Jesus asking us to be poor in a desolate state? No, not at all. He wants us to flourish always, but trusting in the Lord. Trusting always in God in all situations. Many of us may be rich, enjoying a comfortable life, and that's good. That's a blessing of God. But we need to ponder upon. The question here is, do I become rich through unfair means? Do I harm others because I have a lot of wealth? Do I scorn others? Let's pray this Sunday for grace so that we may walk trusting in the Lord always and flourish. May God bless each one of you.